This is Matt for Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store. Delighted to be joined by WBA Super World Champion, about time, Mr. Leigh Wood. Leigh, back in camp, fight finally announced and on. Talk to me, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm never out of camp really. I'm always in the gym, but from the public perspective, in camp for the fight night, it's been announced, everyone knows. I'm sick of replying to everyone every single day. I tell them a date roughly so they can book it off work and stuff, but I can't give too much away. But get messages, are you sure it's this date? I'm like, look, I can't tell you anymore, but now it's announced, get that sigh of relief and they get that kind of definite answer and don't have to keep messaging me.
How much of a relief is it for you? Because it feels like an age since we've seen you out. You had that sort of, what's a career defining, because you obviously got the win over Kanzu as well, where you got the title. Many people are expecting you as well to get elevated a lot sooner, but I feel like it's been a long time and you've not had a chance to sort of capitalise on that winning moment. Is it a bit of like weight off your shoulders now, another goal to go for?
Yeah, obviously I didn't expect to be out of the ring for so long. The main reason was the bowl situation. We didn't have, well, if I had to fight Santa Cruz or they was going to let me fight, and then they said I could fight, and then I picked up that injury on my bicep. So that was the main reason I didn't fight for so long, because I'd love to be busy. I want to be an active fighter. I'm a bit of a throwback myself, I'd love to fight 3-4 times a year, maybe more if I could. But obviously at this age you do pick up niggles. I mean, you train at this intensity, you do pick up little niggles and bumps and knocks. But that wasn't a niggle or a bump or a knock. I had one arm. After 6 rounds of sparring, I literally had one arm. So you have to draw the line between getting through these bits and bobs and something that can properly jeopardise the fight. So good to be back in camp, good to have the date, good to be finally back out there, coming up to a year, back in Nottingham, back at the arena. I wanted that City Ground fight after that last fight. Eddie's like, if I box in Nottingham, it's only going to be the City Ground. But, we didn't expect everything else to happen with the boat situation, the time of year. So, fingers crossed, get this one out of the way and City Ground fight.
I was going to say, we'll get on to the City Ground, because I still think that's in your future, obviously, depending on what happens. This Mauricio Lara, talk to me about this. Now, I've seen some comments he's made about Josh Warrington. I spoke to Josh about that, and Josh was like, don't know where they've come from. He's made comments about you. He's used the word chicken. He's referenced your injury. Where's this all come from? Because from your outset, looking at the fight, a lot of people are thinking, you're the champion. What does he bring to this fight other than it's a major danger fight when you could, in theory, if you wanted to, you could wait and see how these belts sort of work themselves out and go for a unification, but you're choosing to fight a man who's come over here and obviously done what he did to Josh in devastating fashion. So talk to me about this fight and why is he making these comments?
You can try and make sense of it, because I can't, because I picked him as a voluntary defence. I picked to fight Mauricio Lara. At the time, basically on the back of, I wanted the Warrington fight. He had a mandatory, so we couldn't make that fight. So in my mind, I was thinking, well, I can't get the champion. The next best thing is the person that's beat him. And that was basically the top bottom of it. For him to say, oh, I've faked an injury, for people to believe it when I chose to fight him, it's quite absurd. But there's only one fight for me after injury and coming back to reschedule that fight and to shut a lot of people up. And the main thing really is to prove what level I'm at.
Just fighting someone like him, is he the type of opponent that gives you the bit between your teeth? Because I've sort of got the feeling at your stage of your career now, with what you've just been through in terms of getting there, your ups, your downs, and now you're on that sort of up again, that it'd be no good you having a quote-unquote tick over. You need that person to, maybe a bit of a fear factor, so I need to be on my game.
Yeah, for sure. I need that danger in front of me. I need that challenge. It's a challenge that I relish. I need to be up for it. If it's just a tick over fight, or I've got a bigger fight later, then I've seen it time and time again. And fights take that off the ball and they get beat. You could say that happened with Warrington and Lara. A lot of people think that happened, but I don't think that's what happened. I think it was a poor style matchup. But many fighters do it and have done it in the past. And that happened with me when I won the title. Kanzu had the choice of picking a few fighters. I picked myself. He probably thought worse of a bad bunch or whatever. I don't know what he thought, but that was my moment, and I grabbed it with both hands, and that can happen time and time again if you take that off the ball. So it's good to pick to probably stay towards the harder challenges, because they're the ones you get up for, and make sure you're on it.
I think what took people by surprise was, and like I said, you do the fighting, we don't know what goes on in the background with your negotiations, and I know a lot of fighters are just like, look, we leave it to my team, ultimately these are the names we want to do, but crack on with it. You had without doubt for me, a fight of the year. I've never seen anything like it live. Knockdowns, drama, good boxing from both, and one hell of a dramatic finish. So people are asking why, maybe from the first time, because obviously now Michael Conlan's had a couple of fights, so maybe he wouldn't have been available. But when we originally scheduled the first time for Lara, why would we not see the Conlan rematch?
Yeah, well, first of all, credit to Michael Conlan, because it takes two to be in a good fight. To have a great fight, it takes two people. And second of all, for me, it was like, I've already done that. I've already got his name on my resume. He wouldn't fight me for the money that Mauricio Lara was fighting me for what Mauricio Lara was getting paid. Michael Conlan wouldn't. And I almost find that as an insult, because I'm champion. Without giving too much away, I took less money for the first fight to get it in my own city. Not many people know that, and it won't say that.
You took less money in what?
To get Michael to Nottingham for the first fight.
Right,
I took a pay cut to get him to my city. It's champion, and that's absurd, yeah. So let's just. I don't want to go into too much detail. I don't get anyone in trouble, but so for me, it's almost like an insult that I would have to give him pretty much almost a 50-50 split to get him back for a rematch, and that's not fair. But if there's another belt on the line, if he goes away and wins the world title, then that 50-50 split's deserved, isn't it? And also, like I said, his name's on my resume. I want to fight other fighters. I want to get other names on my record. I want to win other belts. I've heard he's fighting for a world title. If he does and he wins that could set up a massive rematch. If not, the Warrington fight, he's got some big names on there. He's got the Leeds factor. Forest and Leeds both in the Premier League. So there's that factor. Also, there's massive fights out there for me, even if Lopez wins, and that's a unification fight. So, there's so many options, but mainly that's the reason why that rematch didn't happen straight away.
Yeah, is the feeling as well, I get the feeling that if, obviously, Michael would have won that fight, do you get a feeling that you might not have been afforded that same grace of going, you know what, it was an epic fight, let's do it again? Is that a feeling? No?
It wouldn't have happened again. No way. If I dropped him in round one and he did to me what I did to him, there would have been no rematch. So.
But equally down the line for you both, that's a huge money spinner fight.
It's a massive fight.
Regardless of even if you took a belt away from it, I know you don't want it, but I'm saying, if you both didn't have belts, people would pay, loads of money to see that fight.
That rivalry, that build-up, what we both bring, the way the styles gel, everything all around the fight is a massive fight, no matter where and when it happens again. So it would be nice for us to both, I think, it'd be a massive fight for both, have a world title to bring to the table, but if we don't, then we don't. But I think that rematch will happen down the line at some point, and it's always going to be a massive fight.
Obviously, you can't overlook what's in front of you, which is a very dangerous opponent in Mauricio Lara. What do you make of him as a fighter? We spoke about him as a man. We've talked about certain comments that he's made. But what do you make of him as a fighter? When you've seen him do what he's done, and he's had a good few impressive performances.
Yeah, he's good at what he does. If you let him do what he's good at, you got to. From how we look at things, we look at fighters like. Look at my previous fights, my last few fights. What we do is we look at what they're good at. Sometimes when fighters or teams look at fighters, they try to find out what they're bad at. But sometimes just knowing what they do regular, what often occurs, is where you will find ways to exploit it. So it's not always what a fighter does bad, sometimes it's what a fighter does good. But if you know what they're going to do, you've got an advantage, whether that's something they do good or something they do bad. So going into the Lara fight, for me, we're looking at tendencies. Well, Lee Wiley and Ben Davis, we're both looking at tendencies. And there's a lot of things that he does regular that often occur. So I can pretty much bet you bottom dollar that he's going to do these in this fight. On the other hand, switch hand, if you look at me in my fights, you look at me against Conlan, and you look at me against Kanzu, and you look at me against Reece Moulton, since I've been down here with Ben. I've adapted to each style to get the win. That's going to be the telling factor for this fight. I will adapt to win, whereas he does the same thing every time. That's the bottom line of it.
How much in terms of preparation, how you look at the fight now that you're with Ben, how key is Ben in the preparation? Because he uploads a lot of stuff to social media. He uploaded something recently about some notes that him and Leigh had done for like Devin Haney on Cambosos and how in-depth it was. Is that the difference? Is that bringing the best out of you now? Is he sort of fine-tuning skills you already had and showing you how to get the best out of them and to show them?
Yeah, like I said, without going into too much detail, that video that they released, not even scratching the surface. once you know what you've got to do, then you've got to counteract that, and then you've got to drill it thousands of times in different scenarios. And it's not as simple as just, right, this is what you need to be careful of, or this is what you need to do. That's just one thing, or a handful of things. There's so much more that goes into it. And I did post something on my story. When I finish boxing, I want to show how I won these fights, going into each fight, and the work I did, and the work I did for each fight, things Ben had me doing, the things Leigh gave me to study, and I want to release it and show, because people look at how did you make Kanzu look like a novice? How did you beat Conlan? How did you do these things? Because it's all in the prep, every single detail is all in there before the fight. It's almost like cheating. That's how I feel.
Do you believe, 'cause when we talk about the Kanzu fight, obviously everyone talks about the Conlan fight, rematch, blah, 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 but when you look at the fight before, do you feel you get the credit for the Kanzu fight? Because he was talked as being a monster in the preparation. So originally, I think he was not scheduled, but there was talks of him fighting Josh, but he was built up as, and don't get me wrong, he's a great fighter, but you did a job on him. Do you feel you get the credit for that win?
I don't think I get the credit yet. I think probably now, or especially before my last fight, people look at it and say, "Oh, he didn't turn up, or it wasn't as good as we thought he was." But I think that's just
boxing, isn't it? Though?
As time goes on, and I pick up these other scalps, they may look back and go, "Do you know what? He probably was as good as we thought he was." But Leigh Wood did what he had to do to win, and he found a way to win because of the way we do things down here, my attributes, my ability to adapt, my team, all these other things that go around it.
Do you believe in February you knock Mauricio Lara out?
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to go 12 rounds either, or into the 12th, as per usual.
Not going to leave it as late as you did last one.
It's not down to leaving it. Sorry, it's not down to leaving it. I don't want to. No one wants to box 12 rounds and get a knockout in the 12th round. If you're doing to do 12 rounds, you're going to do 12 rounds. But I think this style match up, and I always say the truth. For the Conlan fight, I did say it's going to be championship rounds. It's going to be late. For the Kanzu fight, I said the punches will take an cumulative effect, and they did. But this fight is different. This is, as a comparison, it's more similar to the Reese Mould fight than it is these two fights. And I do think I will get him out, and I don't think it'll be late. I think it could be towards early or middle of the fight.
Fireworks all the way. Last one from me before we go. How pleased are you that you did finally get elevated to super champion? Because I remember speaking to Eddie at your press conference, not the press conference fight week, but the build-up press conference, saying, is this belt going to be for the elevated? Because he hasn't fought in 3.5 years. How sort of happy are you that you've got that recognition? Because a lot of regular champions, you see it throughout the divisions, they're like, oh, well, he's regular, the other guy's the super, it's not proper. But everyone sort of was always like, he's actually the real champion of that weight because of his inactivity. How pleased are you about it?
Honestly, don't make a single difference to me. Not a single difference. It's nice to show up a lot of people and critics and trolls and that, but it don't make a single bit of difference to me. In my head, when I won the world title, I was world champion. Mainly because I was the only active featherweight the WBA had. In that box at the weight for just before he vacated, it would have been 4 years, so it didn't really make a bit of difference to me. It's nice to shut everyone up, but that's my thoughts on it. The only difference for me really now is going into bigger fights. I'll have that grace of a unification fight and trumping and mandatories and things like that, and just making bigger fights because I'm the sole champion.
Absolutely. Got a message to Mauricio before you see him soon?
No, I've already gave him a message. I said what I need to say. Like I said, I just hope he's training hard. I want to make his best, his very best, better than it's ever been before. I don't want no excuses, and there'll be no excuses for me either.
Absolutely. Leigh Wood, thanks for talking to Boxing Social. We look forward to catching up with you on Fight Week. And wish you well for the Shepherd.
See you soon.